precisely 6:15. This is the news on Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News is edited by Dulmin Samarasinghe, read by Sabrina Zawahir. The headlines. The President says that the long-standing friendship between Sri Lanka and the Philippines would be promoted. The Prime Minister points out that China has been a very special friend of Sri Lanka. India and Sri Lanka commit to more cooperation in education and skills training. Time allocated for the independent members of the Parliament to express their opinions. The National Council decides to appoint 2 subcommittees related to national policies and economic stabilization. The Defence Secretary says all sectors must meet to discuss fundamental issues. And in world news, one of the most dangerous storms to hit the US leaves millions in Florida without power. And in sports news, it's cricket. Sri Lanka legends will meet West Indies legends in the semi-final of the Road Safety World Cricket Series tomorrow. Now the local news in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that the long-standing friendship between Sri Lanka and the Philippines would be promoted by developing Asian regional cooperation. The President said this during his meeting with the President of the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in Manila this morning. During the discussion, greater emphasis was placed on further strengthening the long-standing bilateral relations between Sri Lanka and the Philippines through new approaches. Meanwhile, the President said it is the hope and expectation of Sri Lanka that the country's creditors and all stakeholders will support to restore debt sustainability and help put the country back on the path of inclusive and sustainable economic growth. He made these remarks addressing the meeting of the governors of the Asian Development Bank in the Philippines. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena says China has been a Kalyani Mitra, a very special friend of Sri Lanka. Kalyani Mitra is a friend who is there in difficulties as well as in happiness, and that is why the country places China as a Kalyani Mitra of Sri Lanka. The Rice Rubber Pact greatly enhanced trade, aid and investments to expand upon a platform of mutual cooperation and friendship. It was furthered through diplomatic relations, respecting Sri Lanka's independence, sovereignty, safeguarding of unitary state and territorial integrity. The Prime Minister was speaking at the 73rd anniversary of Chinese National Day celebrations organized by China-Sri Lanka Friendship Association yesterday. He said, even in the present situation, China has assured further support for attracting investments, cooperation and tourism to Sri Lanka. This great bond has lasted few millennia, as evident through records of the world-renowned 4th century historian Buddhist monk Phahino Thero. Such exclusive records not only speak of volume in trade and cultural exchanges, but importantly of the Silk Route in which China and Sri Lanka collectively are having great deep roots. As of today, China has laid the foundation to become a global giant, changing the international balance of power. The Prime Minister said China has successfully eradicated poverty of 900 million human beings under its unique economic policy and set a great example to the world the way it adapted a practical economic model. He said China is a true decisive global leader, especially with its leadership and assistance in Asia, Africa and Latin America and towards prosperity of all nations. To mark 58 years of capacity-building partnership between India and Sri Lanka through Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation, High Commission of India in Colombo celebrated ITEC Day yesterday. Education Minister Susil Premjantha and Secretary to the Ministry of Education Nihal Ranasinghe graced the occasion as the chief guest and the guest of honour respectively. The event was attended by over 100 participants. In his address, Minister of Education lauded the historical close relations between India and Sri Lanka for more than 2,000 years. He appreciated India for the Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation slots and the annual scholarships offered to Sri Lankan nationals and thanked India for the financial support extended to Sri Lanka in recent months. Speaking on the occasion, the High Commissioner noted the enormous interest shown by Sri Lankan officials for the ITEC program over the years. He emphasized the importance of Indian technical and economic cooperation for India-Sri Lanka partnership in education and skills training. This news is brought to you by Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing local news, Secretary-General of Parliament, Dhammika Dasanayake, says that Committee on Parliamentary Business decided to set aside the 6th and the 7th to take into debate the 22nd Constitution Amendment Bill. This decision was taken at Committee on Parliamentary Business, chaired by Honourable Mahinda Yapabewardena, Speaker of Parliament, this morning. Parliament is scheduled to convene from next Monday to Friday. The 3rd of October is set aside for the purpose of taking up 50 questions for oral answers, which were postponed due to various reasons. From 4th to 6th except for Friday, 7th October, 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. is reserved for questions for oral answers. Furthermore, it has been decided to extend the time allotted for the debate pertaining to government business by half an hour from the 4th Tuesday to allocate that time for the independent members of the Parliament to express their opinions. It has been decided to appoint 2 subcommittees related to national policies and economic stabilization in the inaugural meeting of the National Council. The purpose of setting up the subcommittee on national policy is to set the common priorities of Parliament to guide the formulation of medium and long-term national policies. The purpose of establishing the subcommittee on economic stabilization is to reach agreement on the short and medium-term programs related to economic stabilization. Parliament's Department of Communication said those decisions were taken at the inaugural meeting of the National Council held at the Parliament complex today under the chairmanship of Speaker Mahinda Yapabewardena. Defence Secretary General Kamal Gunaratne said today Sri Lanka should call for a national determination where all sectors of society come together to discuss fundamental issues such as national identity, reconciliation, transitional justice, governance structure and economic revival. He said this is a fundamental step towards building consensus and re-legitimizing state institutions and private organizations in the country towards a common goal. General Gunaratne further said that such an effort-based process serves as the foundation for a national pact addressing the country's issues. He added it would also compel every group within society, especially the investors, to actively participate in the state-building effort towards the economic revival and sustainability. The Defence Secretary said this will establish a secure country, giving due consideration to the scientific and technological innovations. The Defence Secretary expressed these remarks while participating in the inauguration ceremony of the 15th International Research Conference as a chief guest, which is organised by the General Sir John Kotelawala Defence University. Former Commerce, Law and Justice Cabinet Minister of the Republic of India, Professor Subramaniam Swamy, graced the occasion as the keynote speaker. A luxury tourist train service will commence from this weekend from Fort to Kandy. Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that this service will be available only on weekends. The train will leave Fort Station at 6:30 a.m. and reach Kandy by 9:18 a.m. It will depart Kandy at 4:50 p.m. and is expected to arrive at Fort Railway Station by 7:40 in the night. Seat reservation facility is available in this service. The first class ticket will cost 2,000 rupees and the second class ticket is 1,500 rupees. With that, we conclude the local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The European Union has released 1.5 million euros in humanitarian aid to respond to the ongoing socio-economic crisis affecting millions of people in Sri Lanka. The new EU funding will mainly focus on multi-purpose cash interventions to respond to the basic needs of the population, among which food, health, education and protection. Humanitarian assistance will target the most vulnerable households that require immediate support. Speaking about the issue, Commissioner for Crisis Management, Yanis Lenarachich, said with the new humanitarian funding, the EU reaffirms its support to the most vulnerable and will support the humanitarian response on the ground. That was Main News.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight. The Water Supply and Drainage Board says water supply to several areas has been suspended due to a repair of the main pipeline of Navalapitiya water supply scheme. Water supply will be restored at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Accordingly, water supply to all the areas under the Navalapitiya water supply scheme has been suspended. More information can be obtained by calling over the hotline 1939. That came to you in Watchlight. Moving on to world news, taking a look at the headlines of the world news. One of the most dangerous storms to hit the U.S. leaves millions in Florida without power. Sweden finds new leak in Russian gas pipeline. India's Supreme Court says amended abortion law covers single women too. Now the world news in detail. One of the most dangerous storms to hit the U.S. in years has left millions in Florida without power and floodwaters surging inland. Hurricane Ian made landfall yesterday, smashing into the coast with wind speeds of 241 kilometers per hour. Dramatic scenes saw a hospital roof blown off, cars submerged and trees ripped out of the ground. Ian has now been downgraded from a Category 4 to a Category 1 storm. However, Floridians have been warned that the most dangerous 24 hours lay ahead. Sweden has found a new leak in a major undersea pipeline carrying Russian natural gas to the EU, making it the fourth discovered this week. Denmark and Sweden reported gas leaks in the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines earlier this week, raising the possibilities of a deliberate attack. The EU blamed sabotage but did not directly point the finger at Russia. Russia dismissed suggestions that it had attacked its own pipelines as predictable and stupid. India's Supreme Court has said that all women, including those not married, could get an abortion up to 24 weeks. The court ruling came on a plea seeking clarity on the amended 2021 abortion law, which listed several groups that did not include single women. The court said all women, regardless of their marital status, were entitled to safe and legal abortion. It said that excluding single women in consensual relationships and would be unconditional. That ends world news. Prior to concluding the headlines of the world news once again, one of the most dangerous storms to hit the U.S. leaves millions in Florida without power. Sweden finds new leak in Russian gas pipeline. India's Supreme Court says amended abortion law covers single women too. That ends world news. Moving on to development news. UK-based IT company Arsenex has shifted its development wing to Sri Lanka, and Lankan IT professionals would engage in product development for its UK client base. For this purpose, several separate teams such as design, mobile development, project management and admin have been established. Arsenex Group's chairman Kitunsan Tevakumar said these entities would be further strengthened by offering internships to Lankan IT graduates. That came to you in Development News.
Sports News is brought to you by...
With many values that bind us beyond the transaction, we are Sampath Bank. We present your future.
Sri Lanka legends led by Tilakaratne Dilshan will meet West Indies legends in the semi-final of the Road Safety World Cricket Series tomorrow in Raipur, India. The game will commence at 7:30 p.m. Skipper Tilakaratne Dilshan said the unbeaten Sri Lanka team is pretty confident about entering the final and they are in good shape to win the semi-final. He said a world-class cricketer like Sanath Jayasuriya still displays his potential as a veteran player and that is a good strength for Sri Lanka legends. He said Nuwan Kulasekara, Pesman Chaminda Vas, Upul Taranga, Isuru Udana are the key members of the Sri Lanka side, while newcomers to the side, Jeevan Mendis, Asela Gunaratne, Ishan Jayaratne also performed well. That was Sports News.
The fastest way to earn the highest interest from NSB, now extended till the 30th of September just for you. Your short-term deposits receive an attractive interest rate of 20% in 3 months and 22% in 7 months. Visit a bank branch or a main postal office today. NSB, the only bank with 100% government guarantee.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Lena Manufacturing, which is the pharmaceutical manufacturing branch of Sunshine Healthcare Lanka, recently delivered its first order of 100% locally formulated and manufactured metered dose inhalers to the Ministry of Health. Sunshine Healthcare Lanka, the healthcare arm of the diversified conglomerate Sunshine Holdings, officially commenced the operations of Sri Lanka's first metered dose inhaler manufacturing plant, Lino Spiro Limited in Kadawatha in January 2021. That was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by
the fastest way to earn the highest interest from NSB, now extended till the 30th of September just for you. Your short-term deposits receive an attractive interest rate of 20% in 3 months and 22% in 7 months. Visit a bank branch or a main postal office today. NSB, the only bank with 100% government guarantee.
Moving on to economic news. The world's largest Palmyra spirit manufacturing factory will be opened at the end of the year in Tikam, Jaffna. A local distilleries company will be investing 450 million rupees in a joint venture with the Palmyra Development Board to create the historic project. Chairman Palmyra Development Board Krishant Patiraja said the joint venture in this regard has been already signed. The project will also provide 200 direct and over 300 indirect employment opportunities, especially for northerners. That came to you in Economic News.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Finally, we take a look at the weather report. The Met Department says showery condition is expected to enhance to some extent in the southwestern part of the country during next few days. Showers will occur at times in western and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Mathura districts. Several spells of showers will occur in northwestern province. Showers or thunder showers will occur at a few places in Uva province and in Ampara and Batticaloa district during the evening or night. Strong winds about 50 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over the western slopes of the Central Hills, northern, north central and southern provinces and in Trincomalee district. That was the weather report. Prior to concluding this bulletin of news, the headlines once again. The President says that the long-standing friendship between Sri Lanka and the Philippines would be promoted. The Prime Minister points out that China has been a very special friend of Sri Lanka. India and Sri Lanka commit to more cooperation in education and skills training. Time allocated for the independent members of the Parliament to express their opinions. The National Council decides to appoint 2 subcommittees related to national policies and economic stabilization. The Defence Secretary says all sectors must meet to discuss fundamental issues. With that, we conclude the news.